I did it for 6 years and there were lots of elements. My health issues started while I was in law school.
It seems like that's such a common thing now with women struggling, if they're not getting their period. Feel like sometimes you are, you're seeing 5 different people and then you're the middleman having to tell everyone what the others told you. And it becomes a really frustrating kind of cycle.
As a general basis, you should try to eat in a way that will balance your blood glucose levels to then allow your circadian rhythms to also feel supported and balanced.
Yeah. So without further ado, this is Skin and You. If you are listening, I hope this helps you glow, whatever that might mean. Christiana, you have had a real transformation in your career, starting out in law and then shifting to become a nutritionist. Can you take me back to the beginning, I guess, and sort of your journey? Did you always want to be a lawyer to begin with?
I did when I was little. We all got to watch Law and Order and all of those shows, and I thought law was like that. And it was a little bit like that, but not exactly. But that's not the reason why I shifted. I just thought it was something that I always wanted to do. I always used to sit and read about it, used to do science, and it was something that I was so interested in. And while I was working as a lawyer, I actually started studying. And I thought, okay, if I really love it, I'll push it even more. And one day it just happened and I thought, okay, I'm going to take the plunge and I'm going to dive in and become a nutritionist. And that's what I did, and here I am.
Amazing. And were there aspects of the law side of things that you liked? Was there friction in that you weren't sure if you wanted to change, or did you really feel it was just the right path to move on?
It was a long process, so it wasn't just an overnight. And of course, I liked law. I studied it and I did it for 6 years, and there were lots of elements, but there were also elements that weren't resonating with me as something that I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And nutrition was something that I saw myself doing. And it was more about the bringing passion and my career together.
Yeah. And I feel like I know quite a lot of lawyers now, and it is a very full-on lifestyle. It is a very full-on career, and it's one that seems very taxing. And is that something you really felt within that kind of lifestyle, it was taking a toll on you?
My health issues started while I was in law school. So what I'll tell you is I basically didn't get a period for 6 years. I over-exercised, underate, because that were control elements, and my type A personality definitely came out working in the law, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I think type A personalities, which I still have, you can't ever get rid of it, can always push harder in whatever they do. So, it's about bringing that forward and thinking, okay, that's okay. But for me, it just wasn't right at the time, and my body wasn't able to cope with that kind of lifestyle. And, there are people that can absolutely manage it and they're okay with it.
Yeah.
But the fact that I went to a endocrinologist and she said to me, you'll never have a baby, was a big turning point for me too.
Yeah. And did you feel like that's what was happening? You were almost sort of searching for answers from different places for what was going on?
With my health, you mean?
Yeah.
Yes, I did. I did a lot of searching. A lot of reading. I went to an endocrinologist and didn't get the right answer, as in she knew what I had but didn't portray it to me. And I found that was the starting point for me, that I knew nutrition could fix me. It wasn't a pill that wasn't going to fix me, because I had what we call hypothalamic amenorrhea, and that is where you have secondary hypothalamic amenorrhea. It's where you lose your period as a result of stress, under eating, calorie restrictions, over-exercising, and your body can't differentiate between the stresses in your life. So your physical and your mental stress both play a role, and your sex hormones don't get produced. So your estrogen and progesterone, which we want, especially estrogen for beautiful skin, was not getting produced. So I had dormant ovaries. Yeah. So that was the starting point for me, because through changing my lifestyle, gaining 10 kilos, resetting where I was, I was able to transform and get my period back naturally.
It's really interesting because I think I've been speaking to so many people, and it seems like that's such a common thing now with women struggling, they're not getting their period, and there's so many factors coming into it that they're just confused about, they're not sure where, or they're, like I said, they're searching for answers from multiple doctors and sort of not getting, I guess, a kind of whole holistic view of what is wrong. Like you said, they might be getting a quick fix going on the pill or, these other things, but they're still confused and they're still frustrated.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I went through, and I had a lot of gut issues, and that's why I have specialised in both gut and hormone health because of me having extreme IBS, searching for answers, going to gastroenterologists, trying to find an answer, trying to find somebody to tell me, yeah, you've got celiacs, and that's, whereas that wasn't what I was getting. And I think doctors just don't have time. They don't have time to give you that holistic treatment, and that's why it's so important to marry the two together and bring nutrition and bring the element of medicine in it together where necessary. And it comes to like women that lose their period because they have PCOS and differentiating between PCOS, loss of period, and hypothalamic amenorrhea, loss of period. So I think a lot of women in the corporate space tend to lose their period for a couple of months at a time, and they don't think anything of it, and they think, oh, that's probably just normal, I'm a little bit stressed, but it's just that chronic stress on the body.
And especially when, if you are on something like the contraceptive pill and we're told that's a normal thing, and so it's something you don't even think about. I think it's a really hard one. And I think, like you said, it's more common now that you don't even think about it. It's just something that does sort of happen. And I think, like you said with doctors, it's not their job either, to know everything. They're not nutritionists, they're not endocrinologists if you're going to see a GP. So it is really hard to kind of get that full scope of a picture from one person, or you're going shopping to, 5 different specialists. I know, even when I've been stressed and been having gut issues and things like that, it does feel like sometimes you are you're seeing 5 different people, and then you're the middleman having to tell everyone what the others told you. And it becomes a really frustrating kind of cycle you get stuck into.
It does. And that's, you hit the nail on the head there with the middleman. And I find that's where the frustration happens. And you're telling your story in 5 different ways, and you're getting diagnosed by people you shouldn't be getting diagnosed by. And it's confusing. And stress and gut and hormones or just can really explode sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess what was it about nutrition for you that I guess just struck a chord?
I've always been into science at school, did all my science subjects. It was always something that I really enjoyed. I love the human body. And I guess what struck me was how incredible the human body is and how it can fix itself. With the having that conversation with the mind and the body together and bringing them together, you can really change where you're at. So illness, as they say, can start in the gut as well. Our immune systems live so much in our gut, so improving our gut health can improve our skin. Like I get a lot of clients coming to me telling me they've got rosacea, and it could be something that is a lot deeper than just putting on a cream.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of why I wanted to do nutrition, because it was amazing and I could actually help people in the way that I wanted to.
Yeah. And I guess did it feed into your sort of need of wanting to find an answer as well? It was kind of your own self-discovery.
I already, originally possibly, but I had already kind of, before I dove into really doing it, I had already healed myself, and I think that was important.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely, because I think it's part of it, isn't it? And then you've got that, I guess, confirmation bias that, it is working for you, and there's a way forward with that for others as well who are probably going through really similar journeys in both, I think, like you said, a corporate stressful environment, or even if it's, it's not that and it's just your lifestyle.
Well, it could be just you're a mum.
That's right.
I see a lot of gut stuff as stress for mums. We're not sleeping, and when we don't sleep, our microbiome shifts, and
absolutely
everything that you eat might be bothering you, and that could solely be IBS, that stress element, and then triggered by food.
Yeah. No, it is, and absolutely. And I think, I think that's something we can talk about later because I love that. I don't think we realise the toll completely it does take on not only pregnancy and birthing and all of that, but then actually just motherhood throughout the years.
Absolutely. You and I know that. Like I've got 2 little ones under 4 and so do you.
Yeah.
And it's trying to find that balance again, trying to work, trying to, enjoy the kids as well, trying to take care of yourself so you are the best person for them.
Absolutely. And it does. And look, I think we have a really, unfortunate innate sort of thing in us that all our energy goes to everyone else, and we do sometimes forget to kind of come back to ourselves and really, understand that you do need to look after yourself to be the best person for others, because I think that is the hardest thing sometimes. Absolutely. So I guess in terms of nutrition, I love that's kind of a transformation you've taken because it is so different, I guess, from what you were doing. Did you get any pushback in terms of changing that career from sort of family or friends or anything you did when you made that shift?
No, not really actually. And the reason why, because they saw me unhealthy in the first place. And I think after so long trying, it didn't, they knew that this is something that I loved and that I would thrive in.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, it's really good, I think, because that is, for anyone who is really looking to do that shift, and whether it's for your health or just for your mental health even, I think sometimes that can be a scary barrier to put between people, especially if you do have a family while it's going on. People do get, it's something you have to consider, I guess, but it can also be a big blocker to make a shift and look after yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I'd really love to know, I guess you see clients all the time and you do, very much in that wellness space, but what is your kind of biggest worry at the moment with the current state we're sort of at within everyday nutrition? Is there something that you sort of see across the board that you feel like is coming, a bit of a concern?
I still think that constant fear of carbohydrates, the constant non-understanding of what a carbohydrate is in young women. And I have a young daughter and I don't want her to feed them. And fear of food, which is still existing in our generation. I think that's one of my biggest concerns. I think sharing the right information, using science as well as like client-based journeys to help people really understand what's going on is really important. There is a lot of information out there. That's the issue, that we're flooded, and you can Google anything and you'll find any answer you want. It's just the reality of it. And with nutrition, you can find any answer you want. If I want to find that kombucha is really bad for me, I'm going to find that. If I want to find that it's really good for me, I'm going to find that. And it's the interpretation. So it's understanding science, understanding what the studies are telling us, and whether that specific thing benefits that person, because I'll give you an example, fermented foods. They're amazing for the gut. They really are, sauerkraut. But if I give that to somebody that has IBS and they're at the start of their healing journey, they're going to react. So, everyone going out and buying what is labelled as a gut healthy food or a gut healthy prebiotic, and then wondering, why am I still getting bloated and discomfort and running to the toilet when I'm eating this food? The reason why is because it actually ferments in your large intestine, which is a big problem with people with, for example, with IBS. So it's not the right food at that specific time. And I guess the fear of what's kind of, what I'd want to turn around and what I'm trying to do with my Instagram is sharing that right information that'll draw people to really understand their bodies and get the right information.
Yeah, it is a really hard one, isn't it, the sort of fear of food? Because you're absolutely right. You will find whatever answer you're looking for. And, I think it's just human nature in this, that we're curious and the answers are available on Google. And we're flooded with information about new diets and what you should and shouldn't eat. And it's hard because it gets really demonizing of certain foods. And I think particularly when it comes to skin, because that is a big one where we say, there's diets to cut out things and things that, can help clear your skin. And it's a hard one because it does. It sort of demonizes that food group, and it creates more stress, I find. I've had so many
dairy.
I've had so many people come to me and it's like, yeah, take out dairy, take out gluten, and it almost becomes more stressful to manage the diet side that they would, we're trying to clear their skin, and absolutely they see results, but then it can also not be sustainable, and, they can't keep it up, and then it's like they're failing, and it's a really hard one to, I think, keep up with sometimes, and it is. And, and I have read every medical journal, every study I can find on taking dairy, and there are some out of your diet, and there are some really good, studies that show it can help. But I think it's not the whole picture, and I think that's where it's great where, someone like you comes in to kind of look at it overall and at least help guide that journey of how it's possible.
Well, there's different types of dairy. There's goats, there's sheep, there's A2 cow protein, there's A1 and A2, there's organic protein, organic dairy. Then you've got lactose-free dairy if you actually have an intolerance, which could be causing a lot of your your skin issues versus, it just being dairy as a whole. Then there's the whole idea and the studies that have been done that IGF-1, which is the growth hormone, impacts our hormones, and then there is that element. But it's how much you consume. Have you done some healing of your gut first, and then you reintroduce this in a very controlled manner?
Yeah.
Then there's also that fear-mongering that's coming out now. I don't know if you're hearing about it, but oat milk versus almond milk, and it's driving me a little crazy because I have looked at every single product on the market nearly, and oat milk does have more carbs, but why are we demonizing that it has more carbs?
Yeah.
Is it because everyone's using it as like it's saying that it spikes your blood glucose levels? If you marry that with oats and some protein powder and you make a smoothie, it's, going to create more of a balanced meal.
Absolutely.
So, again, coming to, little things that are misunderstood.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, I think, because I'd love to talk to you about sort of that spike in blood sugar, because I think we talk about that a lot in skin, and going on sort of that sort of more low glycemic diet, so you're not getting those spikes, because I think, we know now that spike in blood sugar does produce more sebum. It does make your skin more oilier, which can lead to inflammation and can lead to breakouts as well. So I think for me, that makes more sense than just saying, cut this out, and, you will start seeing improvements. I guess the idea of that, yes, that if our blood sugar spikes, then that is causing inflammation. That makes more sense. And then how do we manage that? You probably still can have, like you said, different types of dairy and things like that, but it's how we control that with that kind of a diet. And I think, that does seem to be more palatable and manageable, I think, for someone to work through, rather than just cut out gluten and dairy and that'll see how that works first.
Yeah, it's focusing on an anti-inflammatory Mediterranean diet, which is where is like the end point is. And it's not that blood glucose levels cause inflammation. I don't know if that's the right it's more what blood glucose levels do to your hormones within the body, like how your insulin responds. And not everybody has issues with blood glucose levels. Their insulin works perfectly fine. So it's not something they always have to be concerned about. But as a general basis, you should try to eat in a way that will balance your blood glucose levels to then allow your circadian rhythms to also feel supported and balanced.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi everyone, I wanted to quickly talk about the sponsor of this podcast, Veladays. Veladays creates simple and highly effective skincare to amplify your routine in the shortest possible time. Veladays creates simple and highly effective skincare to amplify your routine in the shortest possible time. There are 3 clinically proven products that replace an entire 12-step skincare routine so you can do more with less. Veladays is available online now, so head over to the website at veladays.com and take their quick 2-minute skin quiz so you can see how to improve your skincare routine for better results. As a listener of the Skin and You podcast, you can get 20% off your first order with the code SKINANDYOU online now, and the details will be in the show notes. I think inflammation is a really interesting one, and I'd love to sort of see what you think about that. I guess how is it that we sort of create inflammation within our bodies in terms of food? Is that something that you really tend to look at with people? Or?
I think a lot of diseases are caused by inflammation. One of the, the biggest issues, for example, endometriosis is inflammation in the immune system, and it's mast cell production that they're finding now, as well as estrogen, excessive estrogen versus other hormones in the body like progesterone. And I do find that inflammation is always one of my leading goals with clients, reducing that inflammation, I should say, because if your gut is impaired, it's likely you have some sort of inflammation of the gut that needs to be addressed. If your skin is breaking out, it's likely inflammation of, the gut and also your skin. Yeah. And then if you've got endometriosis, like I said, there is inflammation there that's existing. So focusing on an anti-inflammatory diet. And what that means is it can vary for everyone, but generally it's more of a focusing on whole foods, proteins, low GI carbs and grains that are going to support you, reducing refined sugars, if not eliminating them in some sense, a limited amount of dairy, like focusing more on like yogurts that have the probiotics in them. Like I said, goats and sheep that could vary. Like it can vary. I'm not saying everyone has to follow this. Yeah. It will vary for everyone, and everyone's level of inflammation will depend on their base diet, their stress, their sleep, whether they've been, had illnesses and infections, whether they've had, viruses in the past, what their hormone base is as well.
Yeah. And I think it's really interesting because I think when we think about a nutritionist, it's probably not your first go-to for skin issues, which I think is a really interesting one because I think there is so much you can do. But I think, when I think nutritionists, people tend to think weight loss or, healing, sort of, health issues. So, I do think it's really important for people to, I guess, understand a bit more that it doesn't need to be such a luxury to see a nutritionist, and there is so much more of a whole body view that you can really look at. And I think what I've heard is you can say, you can work with someone's doctor, you can give them a letter to take to their doctor to say what blood tests they need and things like that. And I think that's where it takes some of the pressure off you being that middleman to have to kind of jump between all these different people. And give someone a bit more of a whole view.
Yeah, we absolutely do that. And we, can talk to your doctor personally. Like that's what I do. I can ring them and have that conversation. So you're not always having that conversation. You're not always lost.
Yeah. I guess what kind of are the main sort of skin issues you are seeing in patients at the moment?
I see acne, obviously, with hormones. It's a really, really big one, whether it's premenstrual or whether it's related to androgens in excess with PCOS. I also see rosacea when it comes to like gut health. That tends to manifest a bit more. I see psoriasis. I've seen psoriatic arthritis, which comes up with the skin as well, around the hairline, elbows, different areas. I've seen eczema as well related to the gut. And, look, we work with all of that. So it's always set as a goal when people come with that because it's telling me something is going on underneath. Yeah,
I think it is. It's a really good almost alert system, and I think I see that too. And from so many of the other skin experts I've seen, we're starting to see it now as a symptom and of something that's more underlying. And I think that's a good thing because it's giving us one of those signals. Our body is so reactive to changes, and it's a signal. It's not something that genetics play a part in it. We know that with acne, but there are so many underlying factors. And I think it's good to see people starting to feel like it's not so helpless. And I think, previously it was just, acne is something all teenagers deal with and you just have to get through it. That's it. And it doesn't need to be that, or maybe it does, but there are other things, and it's not something anymore that we have to suffer through. There are so many avenues we can go down. And I think there is ones that it's nice that there are ones that seem, sometimes a little bit more gentle and then you can sort of go from there.
Yeah. And with your nutrition, the guidance, you tell me when I work with people how much you want to go into it. So I can take a much gentler approach or I can be like, okay, we're going to go hard and fast.
Yeah. And that's the thing, isn't it? Because I think sometimes, you can give people all the answers, but unless they're going to want to do it or put in that big effort, which sometimes it can take, it doesn't matter what you give them, they're not going to see the results. And that's sometimes a hard thing for people to understand, I guess.
Yeah.
When it does come to things like acne, and I think rosacea is a really interesting one because I think a lot of people with rosacea sometimes feel a little bit helpless. What are the certain things? Is gut health kind of the first thing you begin to look at with that?
With rosacea, yes, I do. That's where I start.
Yeah.
It's one of the key lines of questioning is what is your gut doing, basically, and I go through all of the questions that I ask a client when they have that. But unless I physically see it on them, a lot of people fail to tell me about their skin things because they don't think it's part of their health.
Yeah.
They just live with it, like you said.
Yeah.
And either go to the doctor or go to a dermatologist, which also needs to be done because I think we do need that skin care to also help it. So we need a bit of both worlds.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely it does. It is a really it's such a tricky one, and I think especially with rosacea because a lot of people with rosacea don't even know that they have rosacea or what it is and what it can affect. So it is a really tricky one sometimes to diagnose, absolutely, but then even talk about it, and it can come and go, and there are so many factors with it. And I think that's the same when it comes to acne as well, especially adult acne because it is so hormonal, and it's a really tricky one, and it can be really debilitating for people. Especially when you're older and you think that's something that you've passed finally in life.
I know, but they also get it, and you get acne when you're pregnant in some people, and you can get it on your arms.
Can confirm, I was an acne-covered pregnant lady.
And it really tough, and it's just all those big hormonal shifts. And the thing is, we've got to remember that the gut and the liver are connected, and the liver detoxes, and so does your gut, and so does your skin. That's why there's all these connections. Your skin it has the epithelial tissue is the same as it is in your gut. So the treatments probably are quite similar. We always look at antioxidants like vitamin A, vitamin C. You and I kind of went through this. When we get skincare products, they contain them. When we do gut health, we look at or giving those for gut healing and repairing.
And would that be somewhere where you think is there a kind of blanket supplementation routine that you would say people could look at for skincare, or is it's really much more personalised?
I personalise it. I don't ever give supplements blanket because there's not always one thing going on. It is way beyond that. So I might be presented with constipation versus diarrhea. So giving somebody something that is going to assist with that isn't always going to assist with
interesting.
And the probiotic for your skin, there's probiotic specific strains, specific strains that deal with constipation, specific strains for diarrhea, specific strains to assist even with osteoporosis, and eczema. So it just always depends.
It's so interesting, isn't it? Because it's really something you don't hear about, and that is something that I find hard with supplementation because I think it does provide huge benefits for skin if done correctly. And that is the hard thing sometimes is finding, like you said, there are certain strains, there are certain strengths. I've had clients come to me and they've been on a vitamin A supplement and it's been almost as high as Roaccutane, and it's just scary sometimes, or it's not needed. And so I think, it's hard. It's confusing, and I totally understand the confusion and overwhelm for everyday people because you are bombarded with information from people on social media to, in the news. And, I have to probably see something in the news maybe once a month, if not twice, about, taking fish oil and things like that. And I just think, is it helpful? I don't know.
Do you eat fish?
I will hand on heart say I do, but I know I don't eat enough. And so that
and then
it's hard.
Look, when it comes to fish, there's the type of fish,
Yeah.
and there are your morals when it comes to sustainability.
Yeah.
There's also farmed salmon, which doesn't have the omega-3 content as wild salmon.
Yeah.
If you look at, there is actually a website to do with sustainability of fish, if that is something you're interested in.
Yeah.
But yes, if you are not having omega-3, then they're absolutely important. But if you are, and I always say, get it from your diet. Supplements are there to add in when we're feeling a little depleted. We can come on and off them, or we, it might be something like magnesium that because we're always stressed, we might want that. But then again, there's like 10 different types of magnesium, from citrate to glycinate to, biglycinate, and all of these make a difference.
Yeah. And I think that's something I've learned as well, because even I know I know previously I've told loads of people to take magnesium supplements until I started learning, well, there actually is a ton of different types of magnesium, and that probably wasn't helpful to anything. So I really have to watch myself as well, because it's so easy to just throw out those recommendations that feel like easy wins. I think most women, if they take a zinc supplement, probably,
Fix skin.
Exactly. So, but it's hard to then pull back from that sometimes, because I don't want to cause people more overwhelm. And, exactly like you said, I don't want to overwhelm people and have them waste money or things on things that probably aren't benefiting them at that time.
Well, and it's the type, it's not just the zinc. It's, certain zincs aren't absorbed as well. Yeah. And if you have gut health issues and absorption issues, you might just be wasting your money.
Yeah.
With some of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Omegas is a hard one. It's a tricky one, because I would probably hazard a guess to say most Australians don't eat enough fish maybe to get their amount of omegas, and so that is a tough one, because I think that is such a huge benefit. I've seen a huge benefit even with kids taking it, which I think's a great thing. So I would absolutely encourage everyone to go and see someone like yourself and get supplements. If you want to take that route, get supplements for you, get supplements that are actually benefiting you with what you need.
Yes.
Because it is easy to just, run into Coles and pick up a whole stash of things. And then
even Chemist Warehouse.
Yeah.
I get overwhelmed in there. I feel like I don't know what I'm doing in there sometimes.
It's totally overwhelming.
I can sit there for hours reading every single label going, there's this in it, but this one has this in it. And then...
But it is, and it's the same with skincare. Absolutely.
And collagens.
Exactly. And collagen. It is, it's a really hard one to navigate. So, I think, the biggest tip there is find people, like yourself, who on social media can be at least a trusted guide to give you some kind of step to go forward. And then if you want to take that step, then, contact someone like yourself and then start on that plan. And even if, it's just a simple, meeting with someone like yourself and just getting a supplement plan, if that is what you want to do, because I hand on heart believe you will save money and time in the long run by just getting a succinct plan. And I believe it with skincare too. Get a routine for your skin, and maybe it might be a little bit more costly to begin with, but you will save time and money in the long run.
Absolutely. But what I will say about supplements, there are certain ones that you shouldn't be on continuously for more than, 4 weeks to 3 months. And just getting a supplement plan isn't always, it's great, but it has to be obviously monitored, and that's just, my legal side coming.
No, absolutely. But it is, and, I think that's the same with skincare. I would say, skincare isn't a one size fits all and then use it for the rest of your life. Your skin changes, your body changes as your skin gets used to a product like a retinoid. You can go to a stronger retinoid. It is a constantly evolving thing. And I think that's the most important thing to understand about our bodies is it is so changing. It is so evolving. It changes with age and hormone shifts, pregnancy, everything, stress levels. I notice my body changes immensely when I'm stressed. So
every element.
Yeah. And so that's why I think it's important, like you said, be monitored and understand that it changes, and that's okay and that's normal.
Absolutely.
So I always like to end this podcast on just one nice little easy tip as an everyday sort of practice, I guess, that anyone can implement right now and help to improve themselves. It can be skin, it can be as detailed or easy or simple or anything you want. So I'll go first to give you a minute to think, and then I would love to get your tip as well, because I think it's just really nice to give people just something, something that they can take away that they could start tomorrow that might just simply give them, a little bit of help. So mine are always very weird, but mine today is about priorities. So I think as humans, we often have a habit, and I know particularly as mothers, of assuming we know our priorities just off the top of our head. And they're there just to kind of guide us, and we never really take a minute to actually stop and think about them. And it's something I've been thinking about. So I'd really challenge everyone to just take yourselves out for a coffee alone, and on your phone, just make a list of all your priorities currently that are going through your head. And I think just think about what actually is a priority to you, because I think once something slips off that priority list or it doesn't become a priority anymore, we know it's over, and whether you want to continue with it and you keep trying to bring it back or you keep trying to do it, if it's really come off that priority list, it's probably not helping you in any way. So I would really encourage everyone to just make a list and then go over that list and actually rank them 1 to 10, with 10 being highest priority and 1 being a very low priority. And just have a think about that list so that you can actually see what you've got on your plate, because I think it's really hard. Sometimes we do overstretch ourselves, and I think realistically probably at a priority list doesn't need to be huge and long and vast. So if yours is, I'd really just, encourage everyone to go over it and actually think, are those things real priorities for you, or are they just on your list, and are they just there because you think that's what they should be? And I think that can really help you actually just structure your energy and structure your time. And we all know that stress affects our skin. So I hope for everybody they can maybe take some stresses out of their life that don't need to be there, and hopefully your skin will glow afterwards.
I'm sure it will.
What's yours?
My tip, I'll simplify it, like really simple. Add in 1 new vegetable for the next 4 weeks. And why is because everyone has a shopping list and go-to veggies.
Yeah.
And what we know is that having 30 different plants a week, and by plants, that's broken down into fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, legumes, beans, and even herbs. So what I encourage you to do is go find a vegetable that you don't normally eat. Mine last week was purple sweet potato, which I don't always have on my list, and fennel. So they were 2 of my big ones, and I added them because when we do that, we're starting to improve our gut in, a better way. It's an easy thing for you to do. You've got 4 weeks, just 1.
I absolutely love that, because it's something I've noticed recently is that I always think I have a healthy diet, but I actually looked at my shopping the other day and I buy the same probably 4 vegetables every single time.
Carrot, zucchini.
Yeah, probably carrot, zucchini, bean, broccoli.
Yeah,
and I think, broccoli. And that's probably all I eat. And you're absolutely right. And it was something I saw, I think it was even probably on your social media, about sort of eating the rainbow. And I know I've always thought about that, but then when I actually looked at my shopping, I was like, I literally buy the same thing every time. So, no, I think that's a fantastic one. And like you said, it's something you can go and do tomorrow that won't have any impact on your life, that will really sort of, can just help.
Yeah.
And I think all those little steps add up a lot. So it's easy to make little changes.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Christiana, for coming on the podcast. It has been amazing. I absolutely love everything you do. And I think it is really, really important and so great that we're hearing the story and the narrative of nutrition coming in skin and all health as a whole.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Not at all. My pleasure.